So here we are, Sue Gray down at the Wellington waterfront. After an epic day in the court today, it wrapped up. The no jab, no job court case has ended. Judges reserved this decision, and Sue will now let us know exactly what she expects going forward. Sue!
Thank you, and thanks very much for interviewing and getting this out there to the world.
For the second time.
For the second
We lost the audio on the first time when we were by Parasite's Palace, that's Parliament.
Yeah, so we had a judge who was very interested in the issues, which is really exciting. He had read everything, really interested in understanding the science, and very, very keen to have a careful look at the human rights issues that are in the protected rights and freedoms under the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act, and work out whether the government had actually met those obligations or not. So it's been a bit of a stop-start getting to court because the first judge that we had in some of the preliminary matters said that the court wasn't interested in those things, so we changed things. But anyway, we kind of changed it back again to where we started, and we're now talking about the Bill of Rights Act, and not only firstly whether the minister acted within his power, but secondly whether the court thinks that the decision with this vaccinations order was within the powers and compliant with the New Zealand Bill of Rights Act. So it's a really, really important case, but leading case on these issues, and that's why I talked about Rosa Parks, sorry, quite tired here.
Understandable.
Rosa Parks, and also this whole thing of Fitzgerald and Muldoon that people may remember from a long time ago when Muldoon was the Prime Minister, and he was taken to court by a school teacher because he kept making these decrees about what the law was going to be and expecting people to act in accordance with the laws that hadn't been made yet. Well, guess what's happening again now? We're getting laws, and people are given notice that if they're not vaccinated by a certain date, they're going to lose their job based on a law that hasn't become law yet. So it's we're living in an extraordinary time. What's really interesting, though, is that, yes, COVID was kind of scary at the start, but now we've got more information about COVID. It's not nearly that scary. The information that came out, including from the government's chief scientist, is that COVID is pretty much in the same ballpark of risk as influenza. So we've got all of these crazy laws and restrictions and everything else for something that's pretty much like influenza. And, you know, look, it's really sad, of course, for anybody that gets sick and dies, but the good thing with COVID is it's really the people that die are the same age on average as the population dies at on average anyway. So it's basically killing the people that are old and frail. And it's not nice for anyone to die. I'm not saying that, but I am saying if you're going to die from something, you know, COVID is probably one of the things that's going to get you. But if it's not COVID, it's influenza or pneumonia or one of the other diseases that are harmful for elderly people. So, it's not a risk, a significant risk for young people, and it's not a significant risk for healthy people. So that's the good thing about COVID. It's not as scary as the government would have us believe. So, and the other thing is the vaccine, although the minister claims it's safe and effective, his own experts say it's not safe and it's not effective. So MedSafe has got a whole list of all of the risks, the people that have died from COVID, the people that have had serious adverse effects from COVID. There's so many risks from COVID from the vaccine that people are not being told about because of this propaganda message that the government's decided to put out. And what's also now clear from the documents we've seen is that they had an intention to basically con people into having the vaccine. So they've had a whole strategy of, encourage nicely, and then expect, and then support, and then enforce. So we're kind of heading to enforce now, which basically means you lose your job unless you do what you're told, and you're going to be punished unless you do what you're told. So the courts, the Crown has accepted that it is coercion. What they've done, it is coercion, and it is a breach of the Bill of Rights unless it's justified. So the judge has been asked to decide whether the vaccinations order is justified limitation on the New Zealand Bill of Rights, and particularly the freedom to decline medical treatment.
And of course, bearing in mind, this whole order was on the presumption that they had the evidence and scientific fact in which to base it on, and hence your court case was delayed because they didn't have any of that in order to fight your argument.
Yeah.
So that there on its own should automatically be a home run.
Well, that's true, because what we argued is that the minister, the the minister made his decision, and the information that he made his decision on should have been readily available, because he should have had all that information there before he made his decision. The very fact that they had to go away and find more evidence and they needed more time shows that the minister didn't have the right information. But now that they've given us the extra evidence is actually even more concerning, because the minister's crux of his evidence is that the vaccine is safe and effective, and the government would never have rolled it out if it wasn't absolutely sure that it was. And yet the evidence that he's got from the Ministry of Health is that they don't know. They don't know. They hope it prevents transmission. They really hope that it prevents transmission of Delta, although it's not looking that convincing. And so they're basically speculating. So we've got Ashley Bloomfield's hope, the minister's extreme confidence, and at the other end of the spectrum, Dr. Ian Town, who gave evidence as the chief scientist of the Ministry of Health, has admitted that they don't know if it prevents transmission or not.
Yeah, yet they damn well know it doesn't, because all the evidence overseas shows the efficacy rate is down to 37% in some places.
Yeah.
Israel's onto their fourth jab, their second booster.
Yeah.
The US is trying to roll out a third shot, which is the first booster, and we are expecting them here come January. So all those people who got double jabbed,
they're out of date.
I think the life's going to go back to normal. Sadly mistaken.
Yeah. Well, they're looking at the evidence that we've seen is that if there is any benefit from the vaccine, it doesn't kick in until at least 2 weeks after the second vaccine, and it wears off a couple of months later. So at the very best, you might get a couple of months protection. So all the people that were really enthusiastic lining up early for the jab, well, their protection's probably expired by now anyway. Look, there are so many flaws in what they've been telling us. None of it gels. The only thing that gels is that right from the start, the government's been determined to get us vaccinated. But the link between the vaccine and the COVID isn't really there. From what I've seen on the evidence, it's more a red herring. It really is. So, look, hey, it was great that we went to court. It was great that we've got information out there to the public. It's great that the court's been listening. It's great that the government's been held to account. Now we're in the hands of the judge as to what decision he will make. And meanwhile, we'll be looking at what to do next. And there's a huge momentum, especially with all these announcements that have come out today. Bizarrely, while we were in court arguing about whether they had enough justification to do what they did in the first place, the Prime Minister's announced a whole lot of other measures.
She's doubling down.
She's doubling down. I don't know. I don't understand how that can be democracy. Maybe it's politics, but it's not the kind of politics I like. But we're really interested in what the court comes out and says, and we really just have to wait for that. The judge has said it's an interesting case. He's promised an early decision, and we'll get an outcome as soon as we possibly can.
So all those people who've been in support of Sue and her team, great team by the way.
Yeah, awesome.
United for Freedom, Voices for Freedom, Freedom Seekers, Chantal Baker doing a great work as well. I tell you what, it's all going well. And their backup and support is actually moving mountains. So let's hope the judge rules in our favour, and we start returning back to
normality.
Before the miser started kicking in the draconian.
I don't even want to return back to normality. I want to return back to how good it can be if we actually recognise all the rights and freedoms that we should have, and remedies for different things without relying on big pharma and all the corporations. I think we've got an opportunity to not only turn it back, but turn it back a long way.
Yeah, I noticed you're wearing a little green flax thing.
Yeah, so
can you explain a bit about that?
We've got a whole new plan that Unite for Freedom. Anyone that believes in freedom, anyone that's concerned about the government, let's all wear a green cross. It can be a ribbon, it can be a piece of grass or flax, anything you like, but just a bit of a symbol to say, actually, we're proud of what we're doing. We're not going to be intimidated. We're not going to be bullied. We're actually going to step forward for freedom. We're going to spot each other out and about and say hi to each other. How cool is that?
And green will cancel the red, just saying. So thanks very much for watching, people. We'll bring you more stories as we come, and of course if Sue gets any more updates, we'll bring those to you as well. And thanks for all your support. Without you guys, it wouldn't happen. You're all legends.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
People power rocks.
Absolutely.